Hi, it's Larry Levin again here with Bob Cohn, our editor-in-chief emeritus, and we're here for a special edition of Cop Talk with the week bringing unpredictable and uncertain news relative to what's going on at the United Nations, what's going on with the Palestinian state, what's going on with Israel, and we're going to talk about all of it. So Bob, let's start with the Israelis. They're watching the world swirl around them in every which way. So what right now, if you're Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, what's on your mind and what's on the mind of the country at large?
Well, you know, he's faced with a situation where Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt, who preserved the peace treaty for 30-plus years, is no longer in office. He's facing the fact that there was an attack on the Israeli embassy in Cairo by a mob while the police, at least initially, stood by. There was a similar demonstration, not nearly as disruptive, in front of the Israeli embassy in Jordan. And
he's been having hundreds of thousands of Israelis protesting on their
his
own soil on domestic issues.
Exactly. And I think he's okay with that because that's part of the rough and
background
tumble
noise
of the Israeli situation. He also praised President Obama, and they haven't always gotten well. He called the president's opposition to the Palestinian bid for UN recognition. He said the U.S. opposition is a badge of honor.
He did. And in fact, Obama gave a speech that was rather well received by Netanyahu, but also pointed to Obama's continued hopes for democratically governed Arab states. Meanwhile, whatever your political preference, at least this week, the Republican Party seems bent on driving some ideological wedges through American Jewry about Israel. So what are your thoughts about what's going on from the U.S. perspective?
You know, this is nothing new. It seems new because we see it on 24/7 cable. The 1948 Republican platform was actually stronger in favor of recognizing a Jewish state than was the Democratic one. And then Harry Truman recognized Israel 11 minutes after it was founded. And as part of the rough and tumble of American politics, I think it was a little unfortunate for Governor Rick Perry of Texas, the front-runner of the Republican, to give such a stridently partisan speech the very day the president was addressing the United Nations.
Right, and as you say, Obama has gotten recently some strong positive strokes from Netanyahu in Israel. Why rain on his parade at that particular time doesn't look particularly good. All right, now let's get to who the ruckus is all about, the Palestinians themselves. None of us really know if they want a state or not, because they seem comfortable with a Security Council veto. That's what we wrote about in our editorial this week. Talk about that.
Yeah, there was a gentleman named Nabil Sha'ath, whom I met actually in 1974, possible Conopedia topic, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, an extremely brilliant guy, very well spoken, very knowledgeable. He said that if there is a veto at the Security Council, they will go to the United Nations now and get that more limited recognition as a non-member independent
observer state.
Similar to what the Vatican currently enjoys.
So it looks like they're going to go in that direction. And in fact, that's the next country, France, where kind of out of left field, Nicolas Sarkozy came out and he advocated in favor of the Palestinian delegation going to the General Assembly to receive that observer status.
Sarkozy has shown remarkable inventiveness in the foreign policy realm. It was Sarkozy who pushed NATO and brought the United States on board for the pressure on Gaddafi, which resulted in Gaddafi's ouster. And Sha'ath expressed considerable support for considering this Sarkozy alternative if there is a veto at the Security Council.
Now with Sarkozy's position and with the kind of perpetual back chatter against the United States, there have been some observers who have said that maybe the U.S. isn't the linchpin to a Israeli-Palestinian deal like it's been perceived to be in the past. What do you think about that?
And by the way, Jimmy Carter's former National Security Advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, set forth his concerns that the United States would lose its central role as the honest broker in the Middle East, but he, by implication, praised Sarkozy's initiative, and that the initiative may pass from the United States to the Europeans. And I think it's moving towards some kind of a definitive resolution which might have some subsequent benefits for the whole process.
Well, you've said whether or not you agree with going to the General Assembly, it might push the thing toward a negotiation process in the end game.
Exactly.
And we'll see. Finally, and the only reason I disagreed with that is because I thought that going to the General Assembly would cause too much kind of diatribe against Israel in the court of public opinion.
And you're right about that.
Yeah. Finally, it couldn't be more high drama at the United Nations without Iran's insane President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad rampaging on American soil with his usual Holocaust denying, 9/11 conspiracizing, and U.S. hating. But this time he's speaking before the assembly, and he might as well have been on C-SPAN, because a few minutes into his speech there was nobody in the hall anymore. So it seems like even some of his more, I won't say supporters, but people who have tolerated him have kind of checked out on his insanity.
Yeah, and to the credit of these other delegations, including Canada, United States, France, and a few other Western powers, for walking out on him. He has gone beyond the pale of civil discourse at the United Nations, and his release of these two hikers who never should have been arrested in the first place was hardly a genuine humanitarian. I'm glad they're out, but it was purely a theatrical gesture.
Exactly right. All right, so recap. Will there be a Security Council vote?
I think there will be a Security Council vote, but they will probably kick the actual voting might be postponed procedurally to give everybody more time for behind-the-scenes negotiations.
But you say ultimately there will be a vote.
Ultimately there will be a vote.
Ultimately the U.S. will veto.
Will veto it unless they can modify the language.
All right, and then you say, based on what you know today, Palestinians will go to the General Assembly.
And they'll get an overwhelming majority. They already have 127 countries that recognize Palestine as of now.
Right. I'm going to go a little different way. I'm going to say that there won't be a substantial delay at the Security Council. There will be a United States veto, and then I'm 50-50 on whether the Palestinians will push on at the General Assembly. We'll see.
We'll check in next program and see who is right.
We will. We're not going to see it this time. We said this last time, said we wouldn't see it till after the holiday. We really mean it this time. So, Lashana Tova, have a great New Year. On behalf of Aggie Gallagher, our producer, Bob Cohn, and me, see ya.